Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show where we dive deep into the stories that shape our world. I'm your host, BrightLearn, and today we're exploring a chapter of history that is as fascinating as it is disturbing. Operation Paperclip, a top-secret U.S. intelligence operation that smuggled Nazi scientists out of Germany and into the United States following the end of World War II. To help us with this topic, we will be delving into investigative journalist and author Jacobsen's book on this dark chapter of our history, titled Operation Paperclip, the secret intelligence program that brought Nazi scientists to America. This is a story of ambition, secrecy, and the moral complexities that arise when a nation prioritizes scientific advancement over ethical considerations. Our journey begins in the aftermath of World War II, a time when the world was still reeling from the devastation wrought by the Third Reich. As the dust settled, the United States faced a new challenge, the emerging threat of the Soviet Union. In this climate of fear and suspicion, the U.S. government made a decision that would have far-reaching consequences. They launched Operation Paperclip. The program was officially sanctioned in May 1945, and its goal was simple: to harness the technological expertise of Hitler's former scientists for American military and scientific advancement. But the reality was far more complex. These were not ordinary scientists. Many of them were deeply entangled with the Nazi regime and its atrocities. Some had worked directly with the likes of Adolf Hitler, Heinrich Himmler, and Hermann Göring. They were members of the Nazi Party, the Brown Shirts, and even the SS. Many of these scientists had even received awards from the Führer himself for their services to the Nazi regime. Under Operation Paperclip, these men were given new identities and brought to the United States to work on weapons projects and scientific intelligence programs. They developed rockets, chemical and biological weapons, advanced aviation technologies, and medicine for astronauts for America's burgeoning space program. The age of weapons of mass destruction had begun, and with it came the concept of brinkmanship, the art of pursuing dangerous policies to the limits of safety. Let's take a closer look at some of the key figures in this story. One of the most prominent was Wernher von Braun, the brilliant rocket scientist who had been instrumental in developing the V-2 rocket for the Nazis. Von Braun was a charismatic and ambitious man, and he quickly became a darling of the American media. He was featured in magazines, appeared on television shows, and even worked with Walt Disney to promote the idea of space travel. But von Braun's past was far from pristine. He had been an SS officer, and he oversaw the horrific conditions at the Nordhausen slave labor facility, where thousands of prisoners died building the V-2 rockets. Yet in America, he was celebrated as a visionary and a hero. Another key figure was Arthur Rudolph, who had been the operations director at the Mittelwerk slave labor facility. Rudolph was brought to the United States to work on the Saturn V rocket program, which would eventually take American astronauts to the moon. But his past caught up with him in the 1980s, when the Department of Justice launched an investigation into his wartime activities. Faced with the prospect of a war crimes trial, Rudolph renounced his U.S. citizenship and left the country. The story of Operation Paperclip is rife with moral dilemmas. On one hand, the U.S. government was desperate to gain a technological edge over the Soviets. On the other hand, they were bringing some of the most notorious figures of the Nazi regime into their fold. The decision to recruit these scientists was justified as a necessary evil, a choice between two lesser evils. But the implications of this decision were profound. The scientists brought to America under Operation Paperclip were not just passive participants in the Nazi regime. Many of them were actively involved in its atrocities. They had worked on projects that involved slave labor, medical experiments on concentration camp prisoners, and the development of weapons of mass destruction. Yet, in America, they were given new lives and opportunities to continue their work. The legacy of Operation Paperclip is a complex and troubling one. It raises important questions about the ethical implications of scientific advancement and the moral responsibilities of nations. It also highlights the dangers of allowing political expediency to override ethical considerations. In the decades since the program ended, the truth about Operation Paperclip has slowly come to light. Journalists, historians, and researchers have uncovered the dark secrets that the U.S. government tried to keep hidden. The stories of men like von Braun and Rudolph have been re-examined, and the moral complexities of their recruitment have been laid bare. Today, the debate over Operation Paperclip continues. Some argue that the program was a necessary step in the fight against the Soviet Union, while others condemn it as a moral failure. The question of whether the ends justified the means remains a contentious one. As we reflect on this chapter of history, it's important to remember that the actions of the past have consequences that echo through the decades. The legacy of Operation Paperclip serves as a reminder of the moral dilemmas that arise when scientific advancement is pursued at any cost. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the dark legacy of Operation Paperclip. I hope this episode has given you a deeper understanding of the complexities and moral challenges posed by this controversial program. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a review. And if you have any thoughts or questions about Operation Paperclip, feel free to reach out to me on social media. Until next time, this is BrightLearn, signing off. Stay curious, stay informed, and remember, history is not just about the past, it's about understanding the present and shaping the future.
This has been a BrightLearn video from BrightLearn.ai on the book Operation Paperclip, the secret intelligence program that brought Nazi scientists to America, by Jacobsen. Visit BrightLearn.ai for more fascinating videos like this one, and naturalnews.com for full editorial coverage and breaking news on critical stories that keep you informed and aware of what's really going on.